Arsenal confident of landing 51 million Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi, despite late interest in the Spain star from Real Madrid. 1 minute it's Arsenal, then it's Real Madrid, then it's staying at Sociedad. Who knows, people? Until he's holding an Arsenal shirt, if he is to hold an Arsenal shirt, at least it just provides, if nothing more, a good talking point for us Arsenal fans. As we know, we're hearing Partey might be signing a new deal. We all saw David Ornstein speak about that. Obviously, we're talking about the left-hand side and playing up front for our football club, but centre mid's a key area. If Rice is going to be a long-term number 8, who's going to be the 6? But let's see what the latest, for the 100th time, in relation to Zubimendi probably concerns us with Arsenal fans. Arsenal are confident of completing the signing of Martin Zubimendi this summer, despite interest from Real Madrid, according to a report. Mail Sport exclusively revealed in January that the Gunners will land the Spain international in the upcoming window, having courted him for more than 12 months. Boy. However, in the following months, reports in Spain indicated that the European champions were showing interest in the midfielder and could hijack the deal. At least Real Madrid could beat us, something can beat us on the pitch. You're not going to get to say that against Real Madrid too many times. Allegedly, according to ESPN, the Gunners are confident of acquiring the signature of Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi, with negotiations already at an advanced stage. His signing is expected to kickstart an important summer of recruitment for the North London club. Smash the like button, people, and it is going to be a big summer. I know every fan base says that, and we feel the same way every year, Arsenal fans. But the best part of this squad has been together for at least 1 to 4 years, like the nucleus. There's a lot of chopping and changing, bringing in players, renewing deals, getting rid of players, and all the other moving parts that could shift our summer plans. But we need to firstly have the quality, the level raises in the starting 11. And I think in light with the injuries and all the other stuff, it's a very thin line between quality and quantity, but we need quantity. We need bodies. We need squad depth. We need a bigger squad. Where I'm not going to read that part out to you people, but at this point, such as all the rumors with Martin Zubimendi, Mikel Arteta has to be a keen admirer of the 15-time Spanish international and what he could offer Arsenal. He was close, allegedly, to joining Liverpool last summer, who activated his release clause, but he had a change of heart, which on most players, you're quite pessimistic. But with what you hear is Zubimendi's been doing that as well. Now he's within his rights. If he wants to go Real Madrid, if he wants to stay at Sociedad, if he wants to move to Arsenal, if he wants to assess his options, he's within his rights. But until he's holding the shirt, it's nothing but a decent video for us. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new here. Arsenal's need for a new central midfielder ahead of next season has been heightened with Jorginho and Thomas Partey both out of contract at the end of the season, and the club have accelerated their interest in Zubimendi. Liverpool came close to signing Zubimendi for 52 million last summer before a dramatic U-turn saw the 26-year-old midfielder remain at the La Liga club. The Reds were keen to bolster their squad with a number 6 ahead of Arne Slot's debut campaign at Liverpool. Didn't need him, and to be fair, obviously, if there is a chance of him signing for Arsenal, that's great. But, if you signed for Liverpool last summer, you'd be, your debut season, you would have won the Premier, innit? Or maybe you'd have been bad luck, which would have been good news for Arsenal. Hasn't really said anything that we haven't heard before. James Ollie of ESPN is saying that we are confident of getting the deal done once again, despite any Real Madrid potential interest. Again, the Sun have their own article, adding their own spin on it. Arsenal are confident of making Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi their first signing of the summer, despite reports of a hijacked attempt from Real Madrid. Be as confident as you like, but, until I's are dotted and T's are crossed, who knows, people? And obviously Real Madrid's enough to tempt any player. Apparently we expect, which in general expectations leads to disappointment, Zubimendi 25 to choose North London instead of Real Madrid, having been convinced of the Emirates project by boss Mikel Arteta. Apparently Arteta wanted Zubimendi to join immediately in the winter window, providing competition for Declan Rice, Mikel Merino, and Thomas Partey. We're not really learning anything at this point. Until he has a medical or anything of that ilk, you can't really take too much stock. Thomas Partey, once again, David Ornstein spoke about Arsenal want him to commit to a new deal, has still been linked with Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. Allegedly, we're open to negotiating a short-term deal, and he would allegedly prefer to stay in London. Jorginho, however, is considering interest from Brazil and the MLS, but is also enjoying learning from Arteta at Arsenal and would be happy to sign a rolling 1-year contract. The Italian has been taking his coaching badges at London Coley. Zubimendi is anticipated to be the beginning of a huge summer for incomings for Arsenal, with Arteta revealing it would be big following the appointment of new sporting boss Andrey Santos. Berta had no influence on the Zubimendi deal, but will now be tasked with bringing in an elite striker, whilst also strengthening the general depth of the squad, selling fringe players to raise cash, and extending the contracts of the likes of Bukayo Saka and William Saliba. It was for that reason Isaac may be out of Arsenal's reach, valued at between 100 to 120 million by Newcastle, with Berta instead looking at Sporting Lisbon's Victor Gyökeres and Red Bull Leipzig's 70 million Benjamin Sesko and Nico Williams of 50 million, who plays for Bilbao. Now, it's the same names at this point, people. We're still being linked with the Espanyol goalkeeper Juan Garcia, people. Neto's expected to return to Bournemouth once his loan's ended. We know Zinchenko's future has been subject to speculation, and it's been more or less confirmed by Celtic and Brendan Rodgers, if I'm not wrong, that Kieran Tierney will be rejoining Celtic at the end of the season. So, yeah, man, we all know we got a lot to do. Caught offside is saying Arsenal and Spurs are set to go head-to-head in the race to sign sporting midfielder Martin Hjulmand. Decent little box-to-box midfielder. If we've been looking at Gyökeres, we must know all about him. Midfield's an area we do need to improve upon, and he's actually somebody that apparently grew up being an Arsenal fan. So you never know. At this point, I'm on taking any midfielder at this football club, because I do think, on a serious note, midfield, left wing, and up front are vital areas. Speaking of that, court offside have said we're looking at Chelsea player and Strasbourg loanee Andrey Santos. To be fair, Strasbourg under Liam Rosen, they've got a decent players I would describe as wild cards. Surely Chelsea either put him on another Premier League loan because his last one didn't work out, or he's given at least until January of 2026 to nail down a spot. Bearing in mind, for him, he's playing on a regular basis. It is a World Cup next year. I don't know where he's at in terms of the Brazil national team. That being said, Arsenal are interested in Andrey Santos, 20 years of age, and are exploring the situation, with sources informing court offside that he's not entirely committed to going back to Chelsea next season. The player could be available for a fee in the region of 45 to 50 million. Now, Chelsea seem to be wheeling and dealing. Maybe they take a punt on that. Maybe as an opportunity to make it there. For what it's worth, we've done a decent amount of business with Chelsea, with Kai Havertz, Jorginho, Raheem Sterling, which is enough to scare you away from doing business with them people last summer. So you never know. I don't buy too much into it. Ornstein has spoken on the Bournemouth centre half and said, on our interest in him, it is strong and they remain in contention. They are among the clubs who have met his reps, with Arteta, Andrea Berta also keen to sign him. Whether or not Arsenal win the race is unclear, because it's still open. I'm not aware of a front runner between them, Chelsea, and Liverpool to date. Previously, I think Kivior exiting Arsenal was highly possible, but that might be less certain following his rise to prominence. Either way, Hodgson would play a lot of football at Arsenal. I mean, you play for Spain at international level, give or take. I'm sure you've got Dutch heritage. You see what we're doing on top of, this season in general, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And obviously going back to the beautiful football Wenger days. Make the move, man. If I was him, it depends, because, there's every reason to sign for Arsenal, Chelsea, or Liverpool. Liverpool's have committed Van Dijk, obviously Kanate. We don't know what's going on with his contract, but that's a strong pairing. Arsenal obviously have one when fit, with Magalhaes and Saliba. Chelsea, it seems like Levi Colwill, and take your pick, whoever's peed off their manager the least in training, essentially. So he would, if he signed for Chelsea. To be fair, they will get the project right. They have won trophies. They do play in London, and there's also probably an open spot for us. It'd be nice to have Gabriel Saliba and this guy fighting it out, as we would have seen with a couple of injuries, especially those defensively. And bearing in mind, actually, Timber's playing with an ACL. The more depth, the better, people. Which we're going to lose a lot of, a couple defenders, to be fair. So we have to see, man. Apparently, he would play a lot of football at Arsenal, which Ornstein said, which would be encouraging. Now, this doesn't mean he'll opt for them. There are pros and cons to each of the suitors, all of whom are ready to pay the release clause. Højlund and Bournemouth want it sorted sooner rather than later, and may be encouraging to Arsenal. Typically, you have to pay the release clause in full. Apparently, the 50 million release clause in his current deal does not have to be paid immediately. It's been contractually agreed that the clause can be paid in 3 installments. 3 installments, that's probably right up our street. I'm all for it. He's young, he ties into what we're doing. You've seen what he's done in the Prem, with how Areola and Mikel Arteta play tactically. There's those intangibles. Hate to be that guy, but there's resale value. Maybe it makes you breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, I guess, because I want to keep Saliba and Magalhaes for the foreseeable future, but they both need to sign new deals. I'm just being devil's advocate. What if you get 100 million bid for Gabriel Magalhaes from Saudi? Obviously, his hamstring has thrown that one out. With Saliba to a degree, all options are on the table. So we'll have to see, man. Apparently, he's not decided his next club yet, as the 50 million release clause will surely be triggered. Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, all still in the race, talking to his camp. Bayern keen since January, but depends on sales. Real Madrid haven't decided whether they want another centre-back or not. I mean, when you're Real Madrid, players will wait to hear from you, but you never know. It was previously thought, once again, Kivior was highly likely to leave, but it looks less certain following his rise to prominence. Now, has he laid down a claim to be given more first-team football? Has he made Berta and Mikel Arteta change their minds on him? Does he still want to leave regardless? Because if the other centre-halves are fit, he's not playing. And as romantic as it is, and big him up for Real Madrid, it's on brand with, unfortunately, for him, from a footballing point of view, what Kivior's been in an Arsenal shirt. Injuries, you get your run in the team, which he's done quite well. Does he want to leave regardless? He's someone that is linked continuously with Italian clubs, whether they have bid or attempt to bid, who knows? And where you look at all the players that could leave and we could get a fee for, you know, if Kivior's put a couple of million on his contract and we've decided we're not forcing him out of the door, but we might be receptible to offers, surely, being devil's advocate, he might be one of our more quote-unquote attractable sellables. Now, Kudus of West Ham is still linked with a move away from them people. Apparently, there's 100 million clause in his contract, which is only applicable to Premier League clubs, with Kudus having 150 million release clause specifically for Saudi clubs, valid only for the first 10 days of July. Personally, I think the Kudus boat has gone, but fair play. I have read this before, but allegedly Arsenal would prefer to sign Brian and Mbeumo over Matthias Cunha. Where would you lot be at with that? I wouldn't even do you lot the disservice. So I appreciate if you smash the like button of reading this out to you lot. But I'll read the first line. Arsenal have inquired about signing Eduardo Camavinga, Arda and Rodrigo in the summer transfer window. I don't think any of you believe that, but it is what it is. Lokonga's apparently picked up his 4th injury this season and is set to return to the Emirates, and that's something Berta's going to have to, make happen as well, people. Sevilla do have an option to buy, not an obligation, and you'd imagine with a year left on his deal, him making it clear he wants to leave, they'll attempt to negotiate that lower, provided they want him, people. Which it actually says here, and it talks on a potential sell-on clause as well. Got a deal until 2026, so a future we're going to have to sort out, people. And again, if you've been living under a rock where Arsenal's concerned, on Mikel Merino and Benjamin White being out of the game against Crystal Palace, they couldn't be involved. If they would have been, unfortunately, after the game against Ipswich, we had some issues and they're not fit. Now, again, if that doesn't sum up why we need more additions in the summer and to need to have squad depth as we try to fight for 4 trophies, I don't know what will. But yeah, man.
Like